So tell me if this sounds familiar. You are great at what you do, you're online, you're marketing yourself, you're trying to get the word out about your business. But every time you gain traction or someone books, it's a low paying client or a flaky client who ghosts or doesn't have the budget to work with you anymore. You're probably stuck in the conundrum that myself and a lot of service providers have found themselves in, where you are doing a lot of high effort work for low pay. I've been self-employed as a service-based business since 2019, and I know those frustrations, but I also know that staying there does not equal a sustainable business, one where you can replace your 9-to-5 income and remain self-employed. That flexible schedule, that autonomy that we get into this business for, it's not sustainable if that's the cycle that you're caught in. And I empathize with you, but I want to share with you how you can break out of it. So in today's video, what I'm going to do is break down how service providers can shift from budget buyer clients to premium, higher end, sustainable clients. And it might not even require you to change your niche or your services. It's really just a positioning thing, which I want to get into today. And by the way, when I say premium or high paying or high end clients, it's not that you're going from like a Toyota client to Rolls Royce. Don't think of it like that. It's just who is going to actually need your services and have the budget to pay for it. But they'll also, as a business, see the need for what you do in a way where even if their budget gets tight, they know that they can't afford to not work with you. I'm going to get into all of that today. Now, here are the 3 biggest issues that the service providers that I work with one-on-one are currently dealing with, and honestly, stuff that I've gone through myself and fixed through working with coaches and repositioning and pivoting. It's this, okay? So you have a service that you offer right now, but you don't have an offer. So what we're gonna do is break down the difference between having just a service, like I am a freelance copywriter, I am a web designer, I am a YouTube thumbnail designer. How do you go from that to actually building an offer? Because that's the difference between people can take or leave what you do and them actually beating down your door saying, I need this. The other thing is that you've chosen your niche or your industry. You looked at your passions, your interests, your experiences, and you chose to enter that world and offer services to a subset of people, which is always smart for small businesses. But you probably haven't targeted the quote unquote players with money or the clients that have the actual budget within that niche, which is another easy mistake to make. Or maybe you have your offer, right? You're like, no, Christina, I'm not just offering a service. I have an offer and I have the right ICA, but people are not buying. When I say ICA, I mean ideal customer avatar or target persona. What the problem tends to be at that stage is that your positioning and your message, maybe even the platform you have that message on, needs to be tweaked a little bit, okay? So if you resonate with any of those 3 issues, I'm gonna give you a checklist. And if you readjust some things based off this checklist, I have a feeling you are gonna start to see a change in how many inbound leads you're getting, in how many people respond to your pitches, and even just a better response to your social media posts or however you're marketing yourself. Okay, so this is a little bit tricky, but your service needs to be packaged as an offer. So for example, I'm a freelance copywriter. So what I offer is copywriting services, but, and now this is more important than ever, we need to start talking about our services and what we offer in a way that's way more appealing to people and in a way that resonates with their struggle and what they are looking to build in their business. So instead of going around talking about my copywriting services and just saying copywriter, writing, what I like to do in my marketing, my sales, my website is talk about the pain points and the outcomes. So I talk about things like generating leads, generating traffic, converting sales. So if I was to break it down in like the simplest way possible, it's taking your service but then also talking about why they need the service and what they're actually going to get in terms of outcomes, not just the deliverable, right? Not just pins if you're a Pinterest manager, not just, a new website if you're a web designer. It's talking about the business outcomes that the deliverable actually delivers, right? So how do you do this? Because this is another thing that people get really wrong, is that they'll hire a business coach or they'll take some course and it'll be like, we are going to create this offer that is just undeniable and people would be stupid to say no. Like we have this idea of like, we're gonna market this and make it this shiny thing. And even I fall into this trap where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna market it this way way, but we can't do any of that until we know what people actually want, until we know how they're articulating their problems. Whatever it is we are offering, whatever we're titling our offer, whatever, it's not about what we want or what we want to sell or how we like to say things. It's how the customer or the end prospect, the ideal client, prefers to hear it and things that will push their buttons. So you have your offer, which is great. So you have your service, maybe it's web design, writing, consulting, marketing, you have your service. But what you need to do is craft an offer, and you need to know what people are looking for first. So here's how you do that. Number one is going to be getting on calls and actually talking to people. So this applies to anyone. If you are just, getting into the service-based business world, you don't really have clients yet, or maybe you have one or two clients, but you're not making full-time income, or maybe you're just like at a stage where things have really dried up and you're like, I need leads, I need clients, what is happening? You need to go talk to people. This is the biggest mistake I made, and honestly, why I didn't hit certain income goals last year was because I really got caught in a very isolated place where I had enough work where I wasn't talking to people. I didn't have my ear to the ground as closely to see what was changing in the industry, what people were really needing at the moment. And the moment you lose touch with real people and what they actually need is when your offer tends to not resonate, your message starts to fall a little bit flat. This started happening to me. I saw it in my numbers across all platforms. And the problem was I wasn't talking to people. So a couple months ago, after talking to my friend Nicole, who's like a coach, we weren't really in a coaching session, we were just talking, but I had this epiphany and I was like, I need to talk to people. And I literally started getting on calls and learning what people's problems were and just listening to how they were articulating problems. So this is really uncomfortable for me because I tend to be an introvert. However, just talking to people with no agenda is what I needed to be doing. And it has really illuminated what people are struggling with so that I can craft an offer that they're actually going to want to buy. Okay. So number one is getting on calls. Number two is social listening. So this is definitely more in my comfort zone because then I can low key be a creep and just stalk and, sleuth on these forums and see how people are talking about their problems. You need to go into groups, whether it's in-person groups or online groups or forums or threads or comments, anywhere conversation is taking place. That could even be in like a comment thread on Instagram, or it could be maybe like Reddit threads or Quora threads or Slack groups for your industry. Or Facebook is great for this. You need to read and absorb and take notes on not just the problems that people have, but how they articulate their problems. So for example, if I start going out there and marketing, and I'm like, lead generation, my copywriting services are going to help you with lead generation. But the problem that my ideal customer is actually having is I don't know what to say when I go to post online. Everyone's telling me I need to be on social media, but I don't know what to say. Well, lead generation is not what they're Googling or looking for. They're Googling something like, what do I post? What do I say? And that's why knowing your customer's language and doing that quote unquote social listening, I used to call it eavesdropping, is so important because you want to use those terms in your marketing. It's called voice of customer. Another place that a lot of business owners for some reason don't go to, but I go to as a copywriter, is looking at your testimonials. So if somebody hires me as a copywriter, something that I do for a business owner is look at why people have chosen to work with them and what about the service stood out most to them. So when you can look at your past testimonials and reviews, that can unveil a lot, because I think as people, we have these as service providers, as business owners, we have a blind spot. We don't really know why people are drawn to us. So whether it's surveying them or reading through reviews, you can get a sense for why people worked with you, why people chose you, and what they liked about working with you. And you can lead with those things in your marketing and your messaging. Okay, next is doing business with people that actually have the budget to work with you, okay? So this is hard to give advice in terms of like service providers in general, because we all have different clientele and services that we're offering. But I'm just gonna stay in my realm of like content marketing, copywriting to give you an example. Let's say I am an e-commerce product description writer, and I'm looking for like female women business owners who are selling planners and Bible devotionals. There's a big difference between me targeting an individual seller with their own Shopify store who is telling me, hey, I need a copywriter, I need good copy, I need product descriptions. Big difference between what that woman is willing to invest at those very early stages of her business versus what Hosanna Revival, which is like a beautiful company that sells Bibles and devotionals and notebooks and all that stuff, they have such a different budget than an individual service provider, right? So if you are offering a higher end creative service, you have to go after people and organizations that are at a revenue mark that makes sense for them to invest in what you're selling. So you can breathe a sigh of relief if you've been getting ghosted by people, because you're just targeting people with the wrong budgets versus it having anything to do with you. And I see that a lot, is that people will kind of jump on leads that they see, because like, let's say someone's posting in like a Facebook group, right? And they'll be like, I need a new website. And then you're one of like 50 comments that are saying, I'm a web designer, let's book a call. And then that person like ghosts you or can't afford you or whatever. So you have to find the circles and target the people that have budgets. And I see people doing this well in the fitness space. So like, take a guy like Dan Go, that Asian personal trainer guy. Personal training and fitness is such a wide niche. I mean, seriously, like fitness is so wide, but he specifically targets like CEOs and executives with his, fat loss programs, his fitness programs, who have a very specific need. They have very specific challenges, but he knows that they have budget, right? If you're an executive man and you have like this beer belly or whatever, you're going to want to work with a fitness expert who's not like an Instagram girly taking booty shots in the gym mirror and is like, hey, let's, do this glute program. You're going to look for a guy who is saying things like, hey, I know you're short on time. I know you're busy, but if you want to perform in the boardroom and you want to have peak focus and you want to have time for your family and get rid of that huge beer belly, you look like you're pregnant, we have to take these steps. And Dan Go is one of those people, and I see other fitness people doing it too. They have a certain message, tone, positioning that goes toward a certain demographic who they know has the budget and is willing to invest in high-end fitness services because they're busy, they're making a good amount of money. You get the picture. So it's not just, oh, I'm going to go after the people that have the most money. It's that I need to go after the people who I know have budget for the way that my offers and my pricing is structured, and I need to be targeting them with the right message, the one that pushes on their exact buttons and gets them to buy. So in terms of your messaging and positioning and getting people to buy, you're going to probably need one of two pivots, maybe even both. Number one, you're probably needing to niche down further. So instead of just targeting the fitness niche or the personal development niche, like these really large markets, you're going to probably want to go a step down and go even more niche and narrow. And a lot of people think that they're cutting off opportunities at that stage, but really they're just laser focusing and fine tuning their message to cut through the noise and appeal to that smaller market. Because what would you rather do? Target 100,000 people and hustle with 50 clients at once with a low paying offer? Would you rather have a higher end offer or service and market and sell it to 10 clients that you're working with and allows you to pay your bills, right? So we're needing to get away from this like more is better mindset and getting famous and going viral, and really think about that 1,000 true followers or true fans concept, where it's realizing it's not just about numbers, it's about quality, right? It's quality over quantity. And then the other pivot you might need to make is talking more about the solution versus your service, which I talked about earlier. So this all comes down to outreach and messaging, which is something that I specialize in because, as a lot of you know who are subscribed to this channel already, I come from a background in being in B2B sales before I transitioned to the marketing side and became a copywriter, and now run my own business selling digital products and offering brand messaging and strategy. So instead of just continuing to blab on, I think I want to bring in an example of one of my coaching clients, Marcos, who enrolled in my program 30 Days to Paid, and tell you a little bit about the problem he was having and how we went about remedying that. So outreach, when it comes to service-based businesses, gets a really bad rap, and it's because a lot of people do it wrong. They're like, I'll just give you a prime example. I saw someone like kind of venting the other day in a group forum about how she tried outreach, she tried cold pitching, I think she tried cold emailing, and she's like, trust me, it does not work. And then I read down further in the thread to find out that she sent over 1,000 messages and got like this really low response rate, only to continue on in that thread and find out that she was using a scraping tool and automation software to, blast out these emails. again, getting away from that mass marketing approach and actually fine-tuning your message so you appeal to a very specific person is how this is going to be effective. I would much rather have my students and my coaching clients send 5 hyper-targeted, hyper-personalized messages per week, knowing that their online presence is also dialed in and matches that message. I know they're going to see a higher response rate than somebody who's using automation tools. And as someone who used to use automation tools, first of all, I was like the OG at using automation tools for my old sales job when I was a business development rep. I used automated prospecting software before anyone even knew what that was. I know how great those can be for certain industries, but for creative service-based businesses, you are better off with personalization and targeted messaging versus blasting people with some canned spammy message. Also, as a huge advocate of AI, I infuse AI into my pitches to kind of speed things up, but it's just not a replacement for the brain work that is required to send a personalized pitch that gets somebody's attention. So I don't know how else to say it, but you're doing it wrong and you're giving everybody else a bad rap while you're doing it wrong. So please stop with these AI messages, even with like LinkedIn now. I mean, engagement on LinkedIn and sending somebody a comment that's clearly AI is so obvious now. So use AI, but then edit it yourself and add that personalization, because we are just, as humans, constantly, we're smart. We pick up and we see, oh, I know that was written by AI. So my student Marcos, who I'm talking about, he followed my cold outreach formula, and within days, he had a call booked with a qualified lead, and that lead turned into a $2,000 project, which then turned into a referral. So that's the power of clear messaging and targeted outreach. And what I told Marcos and what I'm going to tell you is, number one, outreach isn't just about selling. It is about showing up with a relevant offer at the right time. Big emphasis, right time, right? Because a lot of you will literally spend a week blasting out messages and then quit because you say it's quote unquote not working. But a lot of this is timing. And if you're not consistent, you're never going to nail that timing. When cold outreach is done right, it positions you as an industry peer, not a salesperson, okay? So you want to show up as an industry expert, somebody who cares about their business, somebody who can actually educate them as business owners in places where they are weaker, where they are not an expert. Be an asset, not somebody who's just trying to get hired by them and get money off of them. Again, it's not about volume. It is about alignment. Now, if you are an enterprise B2B software company trying to generate leads for a demand gen campaign, yes, it's about volume. But for creative professionals, for service-based businesses that want to work with high quality clients that last a long time, you can build quality relationships with, who you can also grow as a professional because you're offering a service that you love and you're just vibing, that is about alignment, not volume. Okay, so back to Marco. So he was stuck in a frustrating cycle that I think a lot of service-based businesses find themselves in. So he was a skilled experienced copywriter and lead gen specialist, and he had a couple of retainer clients, but they lacked the budget to keep investing in the paid traffic that was going to allow them to scale their offers. So what that meant was that Marco was constantly building funnels that never got enough volume so that the customer, that client, could actually test the effectiveness, right? So it left him with no measurable results and no portfolio building ability to attract better clients. So he's feeling stuck, working with low paying clients, trying to make ends meet. He was struggling to break into that high value premium client market that he knew he was capable of serving. And he kind of just lacked the confidence to even position himself to those higher paying clients. So I'm going to read his quote. "I was so tired of building funnels and pages for clients who couldn't afford to pump volume through them. It meant that my copy," that was his service, "never got put to the test, and I couldn't learn from the data, and I had no results to talk about when pitching new clients." So after learning my outreach strategy, Marcos reached out to me and said, "One of the leads I messaged since doing your course booked a call. We had a great chat and he sent over documents so I could build his lead gen strategy. Then he referred me to another coach in his network without me even asking. He said, your course has given me the light at the end of the tunnel I needed. I no longer feel lost. Even though I'm swamped with work from previous clients, it's awesome to know I don't have to depend on that and can keep building connections." And I think that's really important because building a service-based business is also about raising your prices incrementally and sometimes letting go of clients that can't really afford your services. So as I was browsing LinkedIn, Marcos posted that he just had his first $14,000 month. And why I bring this up is not just to be like, oh my gosh, look at this big number. But what I love about Marcos' story is that he said, I was a soldier in my early 20s. I loved my job, but it didn't pay. Then I became a church pastor. I loved my job, but it also didn't pay. Then he goes on to talk about how he basically couldn't afford to buy his kid a pair of socks because he only had $2 in his bank account. He talks about since getting these higher paying clients, he had his first $14,000 month. And he said, my journey is far from over. My goal is to be at $50,000 per month within the next year. I have a lot of building left to do, but it feels good to finally be able to take care of my family. As a soldier, I fought for others. As a pastor, I served for others. And as an entrepreneur for the first time, I get to build for my family and provide them with everything they need. If you're a new entrepreneur struggling to grow and feeling discouraged, don't give up. Keep showing up, work the process, invest in mentors, and hit repeat. That is the way. And honestly, I couldn't love that more. Love that for you, Marcos. So if you are overthinking your outreach, overthinking your marketing messages, or you're just not getting those responses, maybe you are generating traffic, but it's just not converting, reach out to me. Let me help you. I will show you how to streamline your brand messaging so that your ideal clients know that you are the right fit for them, okay? What I noticed with service-based businesses and entrepreneurs, online business owners, is that you have something very unique about your story, your experiences, your skills, but it's really hard and it becomes a blind spot. You really can't see what value you bring. And if you have someone to pull that out of you and then help you craft it into a cohesive brand narrative, all of your marketing and your outreach will become so much more simpler, and you will feel more empowered and confident to go out into the marketplace and sell and market your services and your offers. So I'm offering a one-to-one strategy session where I will learn about your business, pull those tidbits out of you in terms of your offer, your customers, what you want to do, and have you walk away from this session with so much clarity, because you're going to understand your marketplace, your industry, where you fit, what makes you unique, what messages to bring to the marketplace to actually break through. And then you're going to have a strategy doc that you're going to take with you after our meeting and be able to implement step by step. The one through line with everything I do is giving you the steps to take action, because there's too much theory, there's too much fluff. I'm sure you've consumed all of the videos, all the courses, you've learned the skills, but you're not taking action. But if you feel that you're following a roadmap that kind of takes the thinking out of it for you, and you know you just need to execute, that is where the results come from. So hit the link down below to schedule your one-to-one strategy session with me. Spots are obviously limited because it's a one-to-one basis, but I would love to get to know you and help you achieve your income goals and build this service-based business that you have been dreaming of. See ya.